We all know that Jesus knows you personally, and because of him, you should get to know others personally, starting with their name. This is an instant message. What's going on? I'm Alex. I'm actually one of the leaders here, and welcome to F1oorOneTV. We're actually a team of students, creatives, and youth pastors that just want to make videos for you guys. We hope that when you come to our channel, you'll be challenged, you'll be encouraged, and hopefully inspired. Now first, I want to say hello to those of you who've been watching our content week after week. But if you're new here, hit the subscribe button right now. Now you as students all have one thing in common. You all want to be seen, you want to be known and valued for who you are. You don't want fake relationships, you want personal ones. Now in this series, we're actually going to be looking at 5 specific questions you can ask to make those relationships in your lives a whole lot real and a lot more personal. Now, how do we know we can make this happen? Well, because we're actually taking a tip from the way Jesus did it. And to give you an idea of just how to make everything, including your relationship with him, a little more personal.
Hi, I'm Brennan Baker, and if you knew me, you probably know that I'm pretty into basketball. I'm kind of known for that. But what most people don't know is why. I love basketball because it teaches me how to be a better teammate. When somebody talks about basketball like it's stupid or like it doesn't matter, it bugs me because basketball is way more than putting a ball into a hoop. Most people think I'm crazy, but the truth is, basketball is way more than a sport to me. That's why I'm constantly talking about it, because you can't really know me unless you know what matters to me. It's not just a sport, it's personal.
Well, I don't know about you, but I am awful with people's names. I've had so many instances where I would call somebody the right name that I actually have a fear of it. So when I'm out in public and I don't know 100% who somebody is, like even if I'm at 99.9%, I will not say their name. And this stems from a situation that happened to me several years ago. It was probably 5 years after I graduated high school, and I was at a Blockbuster. They don't even exist anymore. I was at a Blockbuster, and I saw this guy that I went all the way through high school and middle school with. And I walked up to him because I hadn't seen him for 5 years. That was before social media, so when you graduated, you just didn't see people anymore. I walked up to him and I'm like, Chris, what is going on? Chris is here. I can't believe it. Chris, I haven't seen you since high school. And I'm having this conversation with this guy, and I called him Chris probably 20 to 30 times. I went over the top saying this guy's name. And I remember as I was talking to him, he had the weirdest look on his face. Well, then after our conversation, I go back to looking at movies, and I hear his brother yell out to him saying, "Hey, Mike, come over here." Oh, his name was Mike. And I called him Chris like 20 to 30 times. I felt like such a fool. And the story actually gets worse. So the line to check out at Blockbuster was long, and I didn't want to have to be embarrassed by standing behind this guy. So while he stood in line waiting to check out, I already had my movie in my hand. I walked around the Blockbuster for like 15 minutes until the line died down and he walked out, so that I wouldn't be embarrassed having to get behind this guy. I mean, how fake can you get to not only forget somebody's name, but then hide out in a Blockbuster until they leave? Listen, our relationships shouldn't be fake. You probably have experienced this before in your life. Maybe somebody didn't forget your name, but maybe somebody didn't treat you the way that they were supposed to treat you. Our relationships should be real. We should have the kind of relationships with people where they don't just know our name, but they know exactly who we are. And this is exactly the same thing that's true when it comes to our faith. God wants to have the kind of relationship with you where you know who he is and you know that he knows who you are. I say that you know that he knows because he already knows who you are. The scriptures are full of all these statements about how much God loves us and how well God knows us. There's even a verse that says that God knows the number of hairs on your head. I mean, how crazy is that? He knows the exact number of hairs on your head. And maybe you don't even have time to try to figure that out because you're struggling with just trying to figure God out. But I want you to know something, that when it comes to the way that God feels about you, he wants to make it very personal. As a matter of fact, fakeness is the exact opposite of the way that Jesus lived his life on this earth. Jesus was the most real person you would ever meet. If you read the Gospels, you find account after account, story after story, life after life of people that Jesus was very real with and very personal with. And one of those is a guy named Zacchaeus. Now, Zacchaeus was a tax collector. Now, what you need to understand about tax collectors during this time was that tax collectors worked for the Roman government. And the Roman government oppressed the Jewish people. They basically ripped them off, bullied them, and took anything they wanted from them. And so Zacchaeus was a tax collector who worked for the Roman government, and he would go to people's homes and he'd be like, hey, you need to give me money for the Roman government that you hate, that is taking advantage of you and is abusing you with their power, and you need to give me so much money. And the government would just change how much they wanted to tax all the time. There was no regulation, there was no fairness. And so Rome constantly hurt the Jewish people. Now, to make this worse, Zacchaeus was a Jew. That's right, he was ripping off and abusing his own people. And so because of that, you can guess that Zacchaeus was one of the most hated people in his town. And so in the scriptures, we find out that in Luke, Jesus is actually coming through Zacchaeus' town, and he is teaching and he is doing ministry. And Zacchaeus hears about Jesus and he wants to check out what's going on for himself. Now, this story may be familiar to some of you if you've hung out at church at all. This is the story of Zacchaeus. He was a short guy who had to climb up a tall tree to hear Jesus preach. But something interesting happens after Jesus' message that confuses everybody in the crowd. In Luke, verse 19, it says this: when Jesus came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus and called him by name. Zacchaeus, he said, quick, come down. I must be a guest in your home today. Zacchaeus quickly climbed down and took Jesus to his house in great excitement and joy. Now, the reason why he was so excited was for you to host someone at your house. That meant that person was your friend. And the fact that Jesus showed up, looked up in that tree, and he called Zacchaeus by name. And he said, Zacchaeus, I want to eat at your house. He was saying, Zacchaeus, you are my friend. Zacchaeus, I want to have a relationship with you. Zacchaeus, I want to know you better. It doesn't make any sense. Why is Jesus somebody who all throughout his life did nothing but help people who were oppressed and beaten down? That's what Jesus did. He helped out the people that were the outcast. But here he is having lunch with a guy that took advantage of the beatdown and the outcast. Well, that's what's so beautiful about this story. This is a story about how Jesus treats people. Not just people like Zacchaeus, but people like me and people like you. You see, Jesus knows you better than you know yourself. And Jesus wants a very personal relationship with you. And he doesn't care the things that you've done to hurt the people in your life. Because if we could be honest, maybe you're not a Jewish tax collector ripping off other Jewish people, but you have been fake to people in your life. You have ripped people off with your words and your actions and your attitude. But Jesus doesn't care about all that. Jesus knows the real you, and he wants a relationship with the real you. So over these next 5 weeks, we're going to be asking you to think about the person of Jesus. We're going to ask you to think about the way he treated people, the way he felt about people, the way he talked to people. And in the end, we want you to take all those things and put that on yourself and ask the question, what does Jesus think about you? What does Jesus think about me? How does he talk to me? What does he believe about me? And what kind of relationship does he want with me? When it comes to Jesus, what does this personal relationship with him look like? And that's what I want you to know today, that when it comes to Jesus, it's personal, because Jesus knows your name. If you look throughout all the Gospels, you will see that Jesus changed the way that everybody felt about God. And if you give Jesus time, he will change the way you feel about God, because he knows your name. He knows the things that make you happy. He knows the things that make you sad. He knows the things that bring you joy, and he knows the things that bring you anger. He knows your weaknesses. He knows your strengths. Jesus knows everything about you, and he wants you to know that. Because when you know that, when you know the way that God feels about you, when you know the way that he looks at you, when you know the way that he thinks about you, it changes everything about the way you live your life And it changes everything about the way that you treat other people. Because Jesus doesn't want to just make it personal for me and you, but he wants to make it personal for the people in your life. He wants to make it personal for the people you go to school with, the people that you're on the basketball team with. He wants to make it personal for your brother and your sister and your parents. He wants to make it personal for your boyfriend, your girlfriend. He even wants to make it personal for those people in your life that you don't want to be around. Jesus wants to make it personal before everybody around you. Now, here's the thing. The people around you may not know God cares about them personally until you actually start to care about them personally. See, this series isn't just about you and God getting closer, but it's about you taking ownership of the people in your life. And so I want to give you a couple tips. And it's going to be real easy. This week, learn somebody's name. Yeah, I'm talking about that person that you sit across from in math class, or the person that you share a locker with, the person that you say hi to all the time, but you don't know their name, so you just say, hey, you, or hey, what's up, or hi. Learn their name. And when you see them, say their name to them and look them in the face when you have a conversation with them. Knowing someone's name is the absolute simplest thing we can do to communicate that that person matters to us. And in Luke chapter 19, on that day when Jesus got done preaching, he walked up to that tree, he looked up, and he looked at the most hated person in that town, the person who did not deserve any of Jesus' time, and he called Zacchaeus out by name. And in doing so, what he said was this: Zacchaeus, I care about you, I want to know you better, and I want to change your life. And that's what I want you to take away from today. That Jesus knows your name. He knows who you are. He cares about you. And if you let him, he wants to change your life.
That's going to be it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel and click the links in the description. And remember, if nobody told you they love you today, remember we do and we always will. Bye!
And
Yeah! Yes! You did it!
oh no, Courtney, I forgot to hit record on this. You have to do this all over.